Hello, everyone. Welcome to the weekly dose of woo, where we keep track of the woo so that you don't have to. And this week we are doing an absolutely amazing double feature exclusive, super amazing episode. The reason for this is because I just got back from 2 weeks of travel, and I am also like my immune system has informed me that was a lot. So, what we're talking about is how do hyper successful people take care of their self-care when life isn't perfect. We have all seen on social media, I wake up at 5 a.m. and I do red light therapy and a sauna and exercise and I'm keto and all of that amazing stuff. What happens when you're traveling and you don't have your home gym or any of the other gadgets, or you only had a carry-on, so you didn't get to take all of your vitamins and everything with you? What then? Well, that's what we're going to talk about because you do it. Hyper successful people do self care very, very differently. And the reality is that they're realistic. They have their priorities already before they get sick or before they travel. So, the first thing that you do is that you need to understand what your priorities for self care are. And the biggest thing you can do with that is self awareness. What actually affects my overall well being most? Not what's easiest, what is best. And so there are several people who are hyper successful that prioritize water. I have more than one client who, when they do public speaking, they double fist water and like a hot tea on stage. They do not care. There is always a table on the stage to make sure that they are staying hydrated throughout the day because keeping their fluids up is the thing that helps them the most be the best public speaker. I have another colleague who puts throat lozenges in her water, and then she sips that all weekend whenever she's at an event so that she can talk throughout the entire event. There are different ways to do things. So you figure out what is the best, most effective way for you to focus on self care, and then those become your priorities. And then when you are sick, we'll go through both of them, sick and travel. So we're going to go through sick first. When you are sick, I want you to take your life in a little ball and chuck it out the window. It don't matter. When you are sick and you want to be sick for the shortest amount of time possible, illness is all you care about. It is all you think about. It is all the hyper success. You may think that hyper successful people are like, no, they power through everything. If they are genuinely ill, they stop moving completely. They put all of their time, money, resources into getting better as quick as possible because they know that to be successful, you should be at optimum performance as often as possible, not getting by. So, again, we have all pushed through a cold. It's not like that. When you are genuinely like sick, they stop. The trauma Olympics, the suffering measuring stick, they do not use it where it's like, well, I went to work even when I had a fever. No, hyper successful people don't do that. They will cancel when they need to. So for self-care when you are sick, there is a DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy skill called please, because we love acronyms in DBT. So please, physical illness. So you treat your physical illness first. That is the most important thing. So that's the P and the L. E is you eat. You eat preferably balanced, healthy meals. But when you're sick, a lot of people forget that when you're sick and you're like dieting or you're trying to cut fat or build muscle or anything like that, you're eating for your illness. You're not eating for your wellness. And that doesn't mean eat cheesecake. It means like when I am sick, I drink an obscene, and I do mean obscene, amount of orange juice every single day because somehow that is what my body needs. Orange juice and ice. I can survive off of it when I am sick, and then a lot of carbs. But when I am healthy, I prioritize protein because that's for my optimum body. But when I'm sick, it's like, no, orange juice and like bread is what I'm surviving on. So you're eating for your illness so that you can get better. you're not treating your body as if it's healthy right now. It's not. That is such an injustice, and that's just prolonging your illness. So the next thing that you're going to do is avoid. Avoid like the plague. You are going to avoid anything that is mood altering. So, alcohol, illicit substances, taking your medication in a non prescribed way. You're going to avoid all that. You're also avoiding the extra stressors. You're going to avoid anything that brings you down, and that includes people. I'm a big believer in that when you are sick to this point that you have to do sicky self care, you go dark. And you can either post it on your social media, hey, I'm going dark for a few days. You can tell people it's because you got the plague or not. But you just go dark. You take care of yourself, because answering everyone's phone calls and emails and text messages is taking time away. Remember, when you are this sick, when high performing people are this sick, they immediately tunnel focus to become as healthy as possible. And answering every email in a timely manner is not doing that. So you're going to avoid people, places, things, anything that gives you stress, anything that is taking you out of your self care. Everything goes. And ideally, this will happen only for a few days and you will be fine. The next is S, and that's sleep. You're going to prioritize sleep. A lot of people will say prioritize balanced sleep. I'm not one of those people. Prioritize all the sleep. Prioritize being a pillow princess. And I'm well aware that that has a different meaning, but I love the phrase. Prioritize sleeping as much as possible. Your body is a beat up old car. Give it a break. Give it a break. Let it rest. Let it rejuvenate. And before you sleep, you can do affirmations. You can do breathing exercises. You can do meditations. Those are the things that I do when I'm super sick, and it always helps. So you can add woo to your self-care when you're sick. So sleep as much as possible. Get your body to rejuvenate and heal itself. And lastly is exercise. When possible, when you are sick, you are not going to the gym, especially if you're contagious. If you're one of those people, it's like, I go to the gym no matter what, and you're contagious, bad human, bad. No one else wants to get your cooties, homie. So exercise can be just gentle stretching in bed. It can be walking around your house. It can be walking to the toilet once a day. That is absolutely fine when you're super sick. Exercise does not mean training for a marathon when you are sick. So that is self-care when you're sick. That is how hyper successful people do it. They immediately, when they realize that this illness is actually going to do something like take them out of their work, they stop everything and hyper focus. So people wonder why hyper successful people are successful even when they're sick. It's because they'll take 24 to 48 hours and be violently ill and then be at optimum again, where people who aren't hyper successful will keep trying to push through at 50% for a week or two. Think of how much you lose at 50% for a week or two versus just losing a 24-hour period of time. It's much different with productivity. So if you want to be the best version of yourself, if you want to be a multimillionaire, if you want to work and be as successful as them, take your self-care seriously when you're sick. So that's a big one. Illness. Next, the other big thing that changes based on our like daily self-care routine is travel. Most successful people travel. Most incredibly successful people travel on a regular basis. I have a colleague who travels, God, I want to say 25 to 28 days out of the month. And then they're home for less than a week every single month. And so obviously their self-care revolves around their travel schedule. So with travel, self-care is a bunch of different things, and we do a bunch of different things, and it's all very complicated and complex because we are humans and complicated beasties. But whenever you travel, you're going to have all the things that you do in your mind, or you can write them out. You can put them in a chart. I don't care. Do whatever works for you. You're going to have two things that are your priorities. You're going to have two things that go in the fuck it basket. Everything else, you're just going to do the best you can and see how it goes. But you're going to focus on two things, because remember, you're traveling. And so when you're traveling, your self-care is not going to be your priority. Going to the event is, making sure you make it to the airport, networking, all of those things are going to become so high on your priority list that self-care is going to move down. So you only pick two. You can pick two. So the ones that I pick are usually physical movement and protein to to make sure that I whenever I travel, I eat protein. I make sure that I eat a lot of protein. And then I make sure that I'm walking. And because usually when I travel, I'm at events, I walk normally, so it's not adding anything to my day or my schedule. On days that I have to be at the airport, I will pace around the terminal before I get on the plane. So those are two that are easy for me. There are many people, like I said, who prioritize water intake. There are people who prioritize their sleep. It's whatever, and it doesn't have to be physical. It can be mental, it can be emotional, it can be spiritual, but you prioritize two and then you fuck it to two. Now, the two that I chuck in the fuck it basket are calories and caffeine. I do not track my calories or my food when I travel, and I do not track how much caffeine I drink. I do not drink coffee. I drink Coke and Dr. Pepper. And I have traveled and drank like obscene amounts where it's like, I can see sound type of thing when I travel. And I don't feel any shame or guilt about it because those are two things that I chuck. And then everything else in the middle, my sleep, my mental health, everything. It's like I'll do the best I can, but it's not a priority. That's how they do it. They are not prioritizing everything. Hyper successful people are still people. And so you can't prioritize everything. And eventually, when you get to be so successful, you can hire people to help you do some of this stuff. Like you hire an assistant and they always make sure that you have like your food packaged already for you. And then you can watch what you eat a little bit more, or they always have an extra water bottle on them so that you never have to worry about your water intake. I have several clients who do that, who they have their assistants who track that kind of stuff for them. Wonderful. If you are not at a place where you can have an assistant track it for you, pick things that matter to you, and that again, they matter to you because they help with your proficiency. They help you to be optimal. They're not the things that are the easiest. They're the things that help you to be a badass most. And that's a huge mistake that people make, is that they do things that it's like, oh, well, this will be the easiest part of self-care, so this is what I'm going to do. No, not this self-care. Remember, this self-care is if you want to be a high achieving individual, if you want to make millions of dollars, this is how they do it with their self-care. It's not, this was the easiest. It's, this was the thing that actually helped. And they go with that. So with travel, you pick two, you get rid of two, everything else, you just do the best you can. With sick and travel, no shame. There's no shame. People who are hyper successful do not have time for shame. If it made them money, maybe, but no, outside of that, no. And it's something that blows a lot of people's minds as they're building their business, that it's hyper successful people. They're like, but they don't feel bad. Why should they feel bad about not doing everything? About that's not the point of self-care. Self-care is not meant to induce shame. It's meant to be like, oh, that actually helped me. I have a better life because of. So be aware that your self-care should not have shame. Why are these people so successful with their self-care? Because they understand that in certain situations, like illness and travel, self-care becomes flexible. They understand that you prioritize the things that make you the best version of yourself, not the easiest to do. Those are big differences that I see with my clients who have already started making multi-millions versus my clients who haven't quite made multi-millions yet with their self-care. It's night and day. It's a huge difference. And you wouldn't think, because everyone's like, oh my gosh, work ethic, work ethic. That's how you make money. That's how you become successful, which is true. Like your work ethic and your intelligence, your thick skin, all of that matters, but your self-care matters too. And that is the huge difference between people who have already made it and are already super successful versus people who aren't. They treat self-care so much differently. It is not at all the way we think self-care would look with high achieving individuals. We would think that they push through anything and everything. No, they push until a certain point and then it's an all stop and make sure that they take care of themselves immediately. So that is self-care. The experience, the exercise that I want you to do, and remember that in the weekly dose of woo, it is every Thursday at 11 a.m. Central. Join me on Zoom. The links are all over social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, wow, Google Business. They're everywhere. They're sprinkled like fairy dust. And so the reason why we do this is because there are 4 rounds in the weekly dose of woo. The first round is a check-in and you get to share your win. You get to brag about your awesomeness. The second one is we do manifesting and we support each other in what we're manifesting for the week. The third one is this, the only part that is recorded for the rest of humanity to see. And then the fourth one is the exercise that we do together. And then you get my psychic feedback based on the exercise. So join us every Thursday at 11 a.m. It is a different subject every time. And the people who do join us on the Zoom get an opportunity to have a workbook or a worksheet or a course given to them for only $11. So it is an amazing opportunity to get little extras throughout your week to help you be successful and the badass that you were meant to be. So with that, the exercise, instead of going through both, what you're going to do is what you're going to have self-awareness. That's the first step. I can't help you with that. Sorry, you're just going to have to do it. In your self-awareness, I want you to ask yourself what parts of self-care, what activities of self-care actually help me perform the best? Which one of these help me to be optimal and be a badass? Not which ones are easiest, not which ones are less time consuming, which ones genuinely help you to be the best version of yourself, to be as productive as possible, especially when you are sick or traveling. So look at those things, journal about them. We will see you next week. Go forth, be the hero of your own story, and have a wonderful freaking day, everybody. Bye.